Can you tell us your name
Yeah, Glenroy Watson.
and your branch of the union?
I'm in the Finsbury Park RMT branch, which covers the Victoria line and the Piccadilly line from Cockfosters to Knightsbridge.
Brill. And why are you out on strike today?
Well, today is not the first, but one of a series of dispute that we're having around our pension fund. If people don't know it, what's actually happened is the Tory government have gone to our company and our managers and say, we're not going to give you any funding to run the railway unless you steal the pension off the employers of London Underground. London Underground have always said, and it is the case, that we have one of the best pensions around. And the Tory party have simply looked at it and said, why are they having such a pension fund? They've not looked at themselves and said, why are we having such a good pension fund? Because they retire in a good pension fund. And there's a resentment that workers should retire in a good pension fund. So that's what it's about. They're coming up with all kinds of fancy calculation. The worst one of which is if you join at the lowest grade, which most people do, and you're now retiring, say, 2 grades up, instead of you having your final salary pension being worked out on that basis, you're being told that it will be an average of all of those. So if you have 3 grades since you've been working, it will be an average of all those 3 grades. Other things are not allowing people to join, allowing others, new starters, to join at different rate, i.e. retire at different rate, and all of these madness. The pension fund is safe, it's well preserved, it's healthy. In fact, it was so healthy about 10 years ago, the company decided that they were going to have a pension fund, a pension holiday. In other words, they don't pay anything into the pension fund for about 10 years. We had to take them to court to make them pay it back. So now that money has come back, the pension fund is even more healthy. It's not time to be fiddling around with our pension fund and stopping 600 people joining the pension fund by cutting those jobs. You are definitely deliberately trying to reduce it. So those are the things we're opposed. 600 jobs being earmarked to go and fiddling around with our pension fund. On the main line, of course, they also have issues about employment. They're trying to reduce staff there and refusing them a pay rise for the last 3 years. So they are in need of a pay increase. They are in need of protecting their job. We are in need of protecting our job and our pension. But undoubtedly, as soon as they can, they'll be going for their pension as well. That's the nature of the beast.
And how do you feel about how the strike is being portrayed in the press?
Well, it's not new. They always do it. Even when we're striking about safety, they try to portray it as those greedy rail workers. So we're not surprised by it, but we're also heartened by the amount of people from the public who are supporting us, and even some politicians. We know the leadership is trying to stop their people supporting us. Many of them have refused to go along with that and have gone out and are to be seen on the picket line. So, we're very grateful for that. Not surprised that the media and right-wing politicians are doing what they're doing. That's power for the cause. So we're prepared for that. And I think we call on the public to understand we're setting a standard that they ought to emulate. No one should be beyond or below the kind of standards that we're fighting for.
Brilliant. And what's going to be happening in the rest of the summer with your dispute?
Well, it's a dispute, but it's also hoped to be settled. We hope they see sense. We hope they see sense tomorrow and give a clear commitment that they're not going to fiddle about with our pension. They're not going to reduce the workforce. So who knows? I expect them to come to their sense tomorrow. There's no indication that they will, because we're just doing another ballot to refresh our ballot, and I dare say they'll hang about to see how that goes. Once we've got it, we've got 7 days to give notice and to actually take action. So between that, they have time. Between now and the ballot, they have time to try and settle it. Now and when we get the ballot, and after that, they have time. But you never know. These people have shown a deliberate act to do this fight, Boris Johnson is poking the Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, to refuse to give us a guarantee that we want. That way, ensure, when we talk about it's Labour or Tory, sometimes they're working together. I think in this particular case, that's what they're doing. Because there's no way a mayor of a city such as London should be having the funding for the industry on a day-to-day basis. Every now and then he has to go to Whitehall to beg for funding. How does that work? It's a madness. If you were running a business or a sweet shop, and you had to wait daily for the funds you collect, the profit you make, you give it to somebody else and they give some of it back, and sometimes they say, well, we're not giving you as much. You wouldn't put up with that. And we have a mayor that's doing that.
So you're not just fighting against the bosses, but you're also fighting against the Tories.
Well, we're fighting against the ineptitude attitude that comes from the mayor, who should be fighting Tory. That's a political fight. Get on with it, or tell us that you're on their side, which is, I suspect, is nearer the truth. They're quite happy to attack the RMT along with the Tories. So that's what's going on now, as far as it looks.
And how can people who want to support the strikes, what's the best thing for them to do?
Visit the picket line, as you guys are doing. Visit any picket line that you can find. If you see a picket line, you're going, walking out or whatever, stop, say hello, give a bit of solidarity. Because this could go on, as you say. When we get our ballot for the underground, it may well go on. For the main line, it will be on the 23rd again, and on the 26th. So don't just walk past a picket line. Stop, have a chat with them. Yes, if you're in your car, a toot would help and encourage us, but if you have time, stop and talk to the workers there, understand a bit more. You can't depend on the Tell Live Vision, you can't depend on all those other medium that are there to distort things. So we need a public support. I think in the past we've had not such great public support as we have with this one, but everyone is so messed over. Everyone is being robbed, and they know they're being robbed. Somebody's putting their hand in their pocket, and they know that. So it's not just a cost of living rise, it's all of those other things. So people are able to see the dots and are connecting it, and when they see us, they will support us, but we want more. We want people to be more vocal, because they can always find somebody who, horrible tube workers, they're on strike again. If that's not you, step up, demand to be heard. If you see an interview that's going a bit dodgy with somebody, slagging us off, stop an interview, support us. All right.
Brilliant.
All right.
And what would you say to other workers who aren't happy with what their employers are doing, whether it's pensions or job cuts or other attacks on their conditions?
This is the time. The weather is right. The time is right. And the solidarity among workers is there. Don't hesitate. Let's all kick them while they're down, because this government has been one of the worst I've ever seen in all my life. The most disgraceful thing has been done by this government, Boris Johnson and his other cronies. This is the time. This is the time. They may appear strong, but there's 148 of them that are claiming that they don't support him. So let's see what they will do. We know it's a lie. They're only saying that to put some other reprobate in his place. But during this time, there's 148 there to be reached out to. So people need to say, let's put the pressure on. And I think it is possible to replace the dishonest Prime Minister that we have. We have to live in hope.
Brilliant. Up the workers.
All right, thanks. All right.